Hi everyone, welcome to week 8 of CAT125R, Public Rhetoric and Practical Communication Online. As you get started with your collaborative curation projects this week, I wanted to spend some time in our intro video really taking a careful look at some past student work for this assignment and looking at the features that make these particular examples successful. Some of the areas we're going to focus on today in terms of what makes for a successful Storify project for this particular assignment are the following. So successful assignments will respond to a specific question, they'll identify a specific audience, they'll guide that audience through the sources in the Storify, and they'll take advantage of Storify's unique multimedia platform. So let's take a look at some examples. So first, responding to a specific question. So here we have an example where we can see that the group narrowed down their topic significantly from the big category of music to the somewhat smaller category of music streaming to the even smaller category of consumers' ethical obligation related to streaming music. So we see here their specific question. From the user's perspective, when do we cross the line between enjoying free music at the artist's expense and violating copyright laws? So not only is this question specific in terms of its focus, it also really allows the writer or the group to take a position. In this case, that consumers should use a subscription-based model for streaming services. So as you are developing your own research questions for the project, you want to make sure that the answer to your question would not be just a simple yes or no answer. And you also want to make sure it's not just a simple factual answer. Rather, you want to be able to respond to your question with a claim. You want to be able to take a position and support that position with researched evidence. Another thing you want to keep in mind when creating a successful collaborative curation project for this class is that you identify a specific audience. So in determining who your audience would be for the Storify, beyond those of us who are in the class, you want to think about who are the stakeholders in your specific subject area. In other words, who is affected by the issue that you're most interested in. So you can see here in this sample about remixing, I've circled here where the group identifies their audience. They identify the audience as music producers and singers. And then the question that they set out to answer serves the practical needs of those groups, right? So you can see here they ask, for you as a producer or singer, how do you know that posting or publishing a music piece or video that contains some other people's work might be a violation of copyright law? So they're using their project to help this particular audience with some practical concerns about posting material online. Here's another sample where we can see that this group identifies their audience in the header of their Storify project, a note for derivative work artists. So in this project, the focus in particular is on artists who manipulate existing photographs to create new work. Once you've identified the audience that you are interested in reaching with your Storify, you want to make sure that you guide that audience through the sources that you present. So we can take a look here at this example, keeping people creative in an age of rampant sharing. So the sections of the Storify that I'm showing you here are linking up the two different sources that the group is using. So at the end of the previous source, the group wraps up their commentary. Right, so they've discussed a previous source and they lead into the next source by asking a question. Can you see the conflict? They then introduce the next piece of source material with some relevant context. In this case, they are establishing the author of the next source's credibility. They introduce him, George Pike, director of the Barco Law Library, so they're setting up what the source is and who is responsible for its original content. Then, once they've included the link to the source, they provide some commentary on it. So they identify what they think his most relevant point is for their argument and discuss that in a little bit more detail. And then finally, they're heading into yet another source, so they set up that connection to it. So this is something that you are all familiar with already from your other work in the course, using evidence in your statement of purpose assignment, or linking up the different points you're making in your slides with your expertise speech. The same principle applies here. You don't want to just throw a bunch of sources together and expect your audience to understand what you mean by putting them next to each other. Your task, the curation part of this assignment, is really helping your audience understand why these sources belong together in one project. And you need to do some work in order to achieve that effect. You need to, as we're calling it here, guide your audience through those sources. Finally, you want to make sure you're taking advantage of Storify's multimedia platform. So, of course, this isn't just a straightforward research paper. Instead, it's something published online. And because of that, you have the opportunity to include multimedia elements, and we want you to really take advantage of that. So let's look at a couple of examples. So here we're going back to an example I showed you earlier, the group who identified the audience for their project as derivative work artists. And we can see here, because this group is focusing on still photography as a medium, they're able to include examples of the type of photography they're discussing and the type of artwork they're discussing as well. So here we have an example where they indicate the group provides the original photographs that the derivative work artist used, and then gives an example of the new piece of art that the artist created based on those existing photographs. They also have the opportunity to use a GIF here, right, to give an example of a particular piece of art that was the subject of a copyright lawsuit. So again, able to incorporate not just still visual images, but moving ones as well in the online context. Another example of a project that does a good job taking advantage of Storify's multimedia platform is this one on internet memes. So the group is able to incorporate the memes themselves and things like video material on how to make a meme, and then also more traditional academic sources here, like an article from a legal journal. So you want to make sure, as you're generating source material for your Storify projects, that you're keeping in mind the range of material you can incorporate in this platform. So don't limit yourself to just textual material. Think about visual material, video material, audio material, and how you can build a unique curation project by bringing all that source material together. So I'm going to leave this video here so you have a lot of time this week to begin your research. And if you have any questions throughout the process, as always, don't hesitate to reach out. And I look forward to reading your projects very soon. Good luck and have a great week.